All right, guys, we are going to get into mutations. So, normally, genes are copied accurately during DNA replication. Thank you, DNA polymerase. But occasionally, there is an error when a gene is not copied correctly or chromosomes do not segregate properly. So, these changes in the DNA sequence are called mutations. So, when gene mutations, they're not all necessarily bad. In fact, they can be good or they can just be neutral. So, genetic mutations is what creates genetic variation. So, mutations are just changes in the nucleotide base sequence of a gene or DNA molecule. All right. So, mutations are random. However, there are some external factors that can make mutations more likely to occur. So, examples can be mutagens, which is an agent that causes genetic mutations, such as chemicals, radiation, and infectious agents. Now, somatic cell mutations will occur in the body cells of an organism. So, these mutations can affect the organism. So, for example, some skin cancers and leukemias are the result of somatic cell mutations. That's why we tell people, if you're going to be out in the sun, make sure you have sunscreen on, or it's not good to lay in tanning beds because it can cause mutations in your skin cells. Now, germ cell mutations occur in an organism's gametes. So, these mutations typically do not affect the organism itself. So, these mutations are very important. However, because they can be passed along to future offspring. Now, most mutations are neutral and have little or no effect. And some mutations cause such dramatic changes that normal cell functions are disrupted and may result in a genetic disorder. So, one example is a hairless cat. So, these are hairless cats. So, this is a mutation in the gene that is responsible for providing hairs with their creatine protein as they emerge from the follicle. So as you can see, they do not have that. So they are hairless cats. But otherwise, they're completely healthy. Now, down here, this is an example of when we can see the negative side of a mutation. So, sickle cell disease is a genetic disorder caused by a mutation in both copies of a person's HBB gene. So, this gene encodes a component of hemoglobin, which is the oxygen carrying protein in red blood cells. So, the mutation causes hemoglobin molecules to stick together, creating a sickle shaped red blood cell. Now, some mutations may actually be beneficial. So, the mutation may cause a change in the phenotype of the organism that makes it better suited for its environment. Now, these organisms that are better suited are more likely to survive, reproduce, and pass these favorable traits onto their offspring. So, this is the mechanism of natural selection. So, antibiotic resistance happens when genes like bacteria, or not genes, when germs like bacteria and fungi, they develop the ability to defeat the germs designed to kill them or defeat the drugs that are designed to kill them. So this happens through random mutations that allow the bacteria to survive and continue to grow. But there are different types of mutations I want to talk about. So, mutations can involve an entire chromosome or just a single DNA nucleotide. But there are two types of mutations: you have gene mutations and you have chromosomal mutations. So, a gene mutation will produce a change within a single gene. So it'll involve the substitution, insertion, or deletion of a single nucleotide along the DNA strand. So, usually, a gene mutation results in a certain amino acid being left out of a protein. So, the proper protein is not formed. With a chromosomal mutations, this involves either a change in the structure of a chromosome or the gain or loss of the entire chromosome. So, chromosome mutations have a much more drastic effect on the organism that gene mutations because they involve the entire chromosome rather than just one gene. So, types of chromosome mutations will include deletion, inversion, translocation, and non disjunction. So, deletion is the loss of a piece of chromosome due to breakage. Inversion, this is when a segment of the chromosome breaks off, it'll flip around, and it reattaches to the same chromosome. A translocation occurs when a piece of one chromosome breaks off and reattaches to a non homologous chromosome. So, in non disjunction, the members of a pair of homologous chromosomes do not move apart properly during meiosis 1, or sister chromatids will fail to separate during meiosis 2. Now, the result is that one gamete receives two of the same type of chromosome, and another gamete receives no copy. So, the other chromosomes are usually disrupted, or they're usually distributed normally. Now, if either of these gametes is then fertilized by a normal gamete, the zygote will have an abnormal chromosome number for that one particular chromosome. So, one zygote will have an extra chromosome, and the other zygote will be missing a chromosome. So, if the organism survives, it usually has a set of symptoms caused by an abnormal dose of the genes associated with the extra or missing chromosome. So notice here on this karyotype, we've got 3 chromosomes on number 21, when normally we should only have 2. Do you remember what that is? All right, if you remember, the karyotype above shows an extra chromosome on chromosome 21. So this genetic condition is called trisomy 21, or more commonly known as Down syndrome. Now, a genetic disorder is an inherited disease or disorder that is caused by a mutation in a gene or by a chromosomal defect. So, genetic disorders can be caused by inheriting autosomal recessive alleles, autosomal dominant alleles, or alleles linked on the sex chromosomes. Now, some genetic disorders are caused when chromosomes fail to separate correctly during meiosis. And in this PowerPoint, I've also linked a video about hemophilia in the royal family bloodline, if that's something you're interested in watching. So that is all I have on mutations. If I went too fast in certain areas, be sure to rewind and pause your video and look at the pictures. The pictures will be the biggest things to help you understand the different kinds of just genetic disorders. All right, guys.